All right, let's get started, class. This is our first boards for the actual school year, talking about the Renaissance. Our essential question: what factors had to be put into place for the Renaissance to take place? The Renaissance was considered the beginning of the modern Europe. It came after the Middle Ages, the Black Plague. It was started in Italy in around 1300 and spread north throughout Europe, 1450s and into the 1500s, eventually into England. And that's when the likes of Shakespeare began to write. Renaissance culture applied to mostly the upper class. The lower class, the peasants, they were not affected quite as much. It was the rise of the Italian city-states that led to the Renaissance. So the Italian city-states, Italy becomes more urban, increasing the power of those in the cities. This power then enabled people, wealthy people, to patron the artists. Florence, a major city-state, was the start of the Renaissance. The Medici family dominated politics without being a prince. Cosimo was the beginner of the Medici family that actually ruled Florence, but without actually being a prince or a king, which was looked down upon at that time. But he, controlled through backdoor deals and whatnot the politics of Florence. His grandson Lorenzo, they both patroned the arts quite a bit and enabled people to create beautiful works of art. Milan was ruled by the Sforza family. Rome ruled by the Papal States. So Rome was controlled quite a bit by the church. Venice ruled the trade with the Middle East, and that gave Venice a lot of power. They were a trading city-state, and they ruled the longest in Italy. Naples and the Kingdom of Two Sicilies, they actually had a king, and eventually when Italy became united, it was their king that helped push that forward. All right, the decline of the city-states in 1494, French invasion of Italy. The city-states did not unite, so they were dominated against any kind of foreign power. So since they could not hold a front together, oftentimes Venice would fight with Florence, and Florence would fight Milan. And so because they could not unite and provide a united front, the other countries such as France and Spain dominated them. Italy became a battleground between Spain and France, and they continuously poured in resources, armies to control that area. The sack of Rome in 1527 by Charles V of the Holy Roman Empire and King of Spain essentially ended the Renaissance in Italy. Now, Machiavelli was a great ruler, a great writer during this time. He wrote The Prince in 1513. He witnessed the downfall of the Medici family in Florence and wrote a book as advice to the fallen leader. This book was the first political paper on how to rule. The ends justify the means, better to be feared than loved. So he wrote this, said, I don't have much to offer you in a way of money or jewels, but let me offer you advice. So this was the first political paper that emphasized how to rule and how to dominate your subjects. Humanism, revival of the ancients, the Greeks and the Romans, literature and artwork, strong belief in individual and potential of humans. First Latin was revived, so first it came in the literature, then Greek texts were studied. Civic humanism prepares leaders with an education in civics, and this was considered very modern at the time. So this entire time we're looking at what is modern, how is modern interpreted throughout this time period. Petrarch was the father of humanism. He was a writer, 1304 to 1374. Bruni was the first to use the term humanism. He was a scholar in Florence. And a few others. Castelloni wrote the Book of the Courtier, specified qualities necessary to be a true gentleman or a Renaissance man. And this book was one that was used throughout Italy and then later on in other parts of Europe to emphasize what it means to be a Renaissance person. Gutenberg invented the printing press with movable type, spread literature and humanism. He was a German, but his printing press spread quite a bit after in the 1400s after he created it. The Italian Renaissance art. Florence was the leader of the art from the patrons like Medici. Other city-states copied Florence. So once Florence started to have quite a few people in the arts producing great works of art, other city-states wanted to copy that. They got kind of jealous. The explosion of art and architecture, especially Rome, the church, patroned quite a few people to make the church seem very grandiose. Idealized Greek and Roman works. Florence artists, Brunelleschi, Ghiberti, and I might be saying these names wrong, Donatello, Botticelli, all set high standards for those to follow. So those were the some of the original artists from Florence. During the High Renaissance, you had people like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael, were centered in Rome, received monies from the church to create masterpieces. You've got the Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, the School of Athens, Sistine Chapel, the work of art, the David. They were all created in this time frame. So this is a little bit about the Renaissance. Remember, history's no mystery. Take good notes. See ya.